你好，我叫 Josephine，可是我的中文的名字是潘芬，我现在上11年级。今天我要给你们看我最喜欢的课——生物学课。这个星期我们在学习进化，学生跟老师一起讨论，互相问问题，学习成种进化和找一下什么东西可以影响一个种类。
All right, so how are we going to define a species? What defines, what is the biological concept of a species? How is that defined? Anyone?
If
Sarah?
they can't mate with each other?
Yeah, so the biological concept is if two groups of organisms can actually mate or breed, interbreed, okay? And what is key is that they produce what? Offspring that is viable and fertile, okay? Okay, it can't just be viable, all right, but can't reproduce. It can't just be fertile, okay, but weak, all right, and again, can't reproduce, but it has to be viable, fertile offspring.
So, does viable mean that that this hybrid has to be at least like genetically or physically sound?
Yeah, so sound and actually live.
So not
right?
like slumping
born
and
dead.
drooling and dragging itself all over the place.
Right, because the idea is what? The idea is you want it to be able to pass on its genes, and if it's not fit enough to mate, okay, then this offspring has been produced, but it can't, it's too weak, it's too, for whatever reason, physically unable to mate with another offspring, all right? And so now you cannot continue the species, all right? So viable is important, but also fertile, because an example of like the mule, okay, breeding or crossing a horse and a donkey, you can't have more offspring, okay, from that mule. It's not fertile. Does that make sense?
So then it's technically not a species, then a new
So-
species, or is it?
So it's
That's-
not,
okay.
so it's an infertile
Okay.
offspring, an
So you
infertile species. Yes.
So the conditions that they have to produce viable and fertile offspring, like that's sort of kind of loose guidelines, isn't it?
No, it's the biological concept of it. So there are different concepts for a species, right? So some concepts will look at morphologically, are these two groups of organisms the same? Okay, so there's a morphological concept for what is a species. Okay, ecologically, all right, do they interact in a similar manner with their environment? Okay, so that's an ecological concept for a species. The biological concept, the guidelines, is that it can produce offspring that is fertile, it can produce viable offspring. So to answer your question with the mule, no, like it would
Okay.
not be considered,
So in terms of that concept, it's not.
it's not, in terms of the biological concept of species. it's
Because I know
not.
there are multiple ones, but like in
Yes.
terms of that concept,
It's not, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, right? So the other thing is, when you look at populations, all right, there is gene flow between populations. What is gene flow? From your reading, Risha. The introduction of genes, exactly, okay, from one gene pool to another, okay? And so, with the idea that these two populations can actually interbreed, okay, and give rise to perhaps a different type of organism, okay, the variant that is a mix between the two populations. So what starts to happen to gene flow when you start to develop reproductive barriers?
I mean, like obviously there's less gene flow between the populations because they're becoming a new species.
Right, exactly, okay, so gene flow is gonna start to decrease, okay? And so there are, within our species, there's a lot of diversity, okay? And you see it with other species as well, okay? You see it with bacterial organisms, with viral organisms. You see it with larger organisms that are non-human, Okay, there's variation within populations. Okay, and then there are similarities between different species. Okay, but does that mean that they can mate?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, okay? Because there are different mechanisms for selection of a mate, right? Okay, so two different species, all right, of bird that have differences in song will not attract one another, okay? If anybody's watched, we were talking the other day about planet Earth, okay? And you watch the segment on birds of paradise, okay? And there's this one bird that does this amazing dance. Have you ever watched it? Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
It's like it blows up and it starts dancing. Okay. Yeah. So
the face
and for some reason that's attractive behavior to a mate. Okay. Within that species of bird. Okay. So again, they have to. What's that? You found it. Yeah. So it's good to watch. I don't know if you can find Apple TV or something here. Okay. So I think this is it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you look at this segment of birds of paradise. So this is the one I think that ends up doing that funky dance.
Do these birds learn the dance by watching adults do the dance, or do they kind of have it
Behaviorally,
inherent?
and like part of that will be environmental, part of it will be genetic.
Oh, this is the one that does over your face.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Here we go. Okay. Now this selection is non-random. Okay.
What are you doing?
There we go. Okay. It's a totally non-random selection. All right, and here it is. Here we go.
Why? It's so bizarre.
Yeah. The other birds are so good.
It's just so unnatural.
It's so funny.
Yeah. But also notice how the mate, right, is not that
Loves it.
colorful, right? In fact, that the mate in this situation ran away.
I would too.
All right. Yeah, I know, right? Okay.
那是我的生物学课，所以我们为什么一定学习这种进化？我觉得我们学习这个主题，所以我们可以了解我们的世界、我们的环境和我们的由来。生物体的演变对农业、医药工业和我们的社区有很多影响，所以学习进化是很重要的。Thank you for watching. 再见。